do some law. We're going to continue our series here on how to beat a DWI in Arkansas. So today we're going to talk about the Field Sobriety Test and why you should never do the Field Sobriety Test under any circumstances. And so let's back up for a second. Let's say that this is a typical DWI stop. So the cops pulled you over and he's already suspected it by the way you're driving, or he's going to suspect it by the way you're looking when he gets to the window. So right there, they've already made up their mind, okay? And right, wrong, or otherwise, they're always going to say you had bloodshot, watery eyes, because that's in the manual. And then they're going to say that they smelled the odor of intoxicants. And again, that's in the manual. And then when I get into cross and I do things, I was like, well, what did you smell? Did you smell vodka? Did you smell beer? Did you smell whiskey? Are you saying those all smell the same? And you know, they'll have their answers for that. But the point is, by the time they've stopped you, by the time they've talked to you, they've already made up their mind. When they ask you to get out of the car, no matter how you do it, they're going to say that you stumbled and you couldn't use your balance. All right. So right there, they've already made up their mind, and some judges will even prosecute you based just on that. So now they're going to say that they want to do the field sobriety. So here's the first thing they don't tell you, okay? A field sobriety test, it is a search, all right? Just like if they're asking you if they can come search your house, if they can come search your car, it is a search of your person. But they're not required to tell you that you have the right to refuse it. So I'm telling you now, you can and you should refuse it.
You can and you should refuse it.
Okay? They can't punish you for it. They can't do anything like that. And what I've seen a lot on the videos, the cop will say, I need to do a field sobriety to make sure you're okay to drive. That's not it at all. What he's doing is he's trying to get more evidence to bolster his case for his arrest and for when he goes to court. So now when we're talking about the field sobriety and why I say don't ever do it, here's why. They're very, very subjective, number one, all right? And the most common are the eye test, the follow my finger, and then the one leg stand and the walk and turn. And they're all very, very subjective, and pretty much anybody can decide that you failed it. That's like your first problem right there. You're just putting your life in their hands because they can do the test and say they saw whatever they saw and put it down as evidence against you. You know, you're contrary to what you think, you're not going to pass it with flying colors, and you're not going to impress them, and you're not going to do all sorts of those things. And then the next problem that I have with it, most every case that I do, the cop gets the test themselves really, really wrong. There's a lot of mechanical steps to the eye test, and I see them doing it incorrectly all the time. And sometimes the judges will let them testify to the results, even though they did the test wrong. So he can get up there and violate your rights, move his finger too fast, not do it right, go up, down too fast, not do enough passes, get it all wrong, and then still say he observed impairment, and boom, you just gave him evidence against you. So that's why we say we're not going to do it. When we get into the walk and turn and the one leg stand, one of the clues that he can use that you failed it is if you have to have the instructions repeated to you. So keep in mind, think of the situation. This is almost always at night. Hell, you may or may not be a little drunk. You're on the side of the road. There's cars passing. You got the lights flashing. He's yelling at you, being rude. He's barking all these orders at you. And if you ask him to repeat any of it, that's a fail. If you don't bother him and just try to do your best and get something a little bit wrong, boom, that's a fail. And where we noticed this in a recent case, client was doing the walk the line, and he was doing it on a lawn in a parking lot. And he was doing it great, doing it fantastic. The only thing that he did wrong was the officer makes you start with one foot touching the other, all right? And he didn't know if that counted as the first step or not. And then when he asked for clarification, the officer wouldn't tell him. So he didn't know if that counted as one or not. And so what he went with wasn't correct. Officer gave him a fail. Well, he's going up and down the line. And I mean, he's nailing it. I mean, he's right on the lines, perfect balance. And almost every step, the cop's going fail, fail, fail. And I was like, what was wrong with that? And when I went back and looked, in the instructions, when you start, he tells you, touch the heel to the toe. But then when he tells you to take the steps, he just says, take a heel to toe step. And if you miss it by more than a half inch, it's deemed a fail. So my client did great, and he walked in a great smooth line, but there's a little bit of space between the heel and the toe. And because of that, he failed it. So they don't tell you these sorts of things while they're doing the field sobriety. They want you to run in and do it so they can just put whatever notes that there's more evidence of impairment. And 98% of the time when you're doing the field sobriety, no matter how good you feel, all you're doing is giving them more evidence to build more of a case against you. So keep that in mind. We always want to refuse the field sobriety tests. Right on. Just keep on. Go do some law. Do some law.